Thom returns to the land the way men often do when they are trying to outrun themselves. He wakes before the sun now. He pulls on his boots while the house is still quiet. He steps outside while the air is cool and damp. He walks the fence lines. He checks the posts. He presses his hands into the soil like it remembers him. He breaks the ground with steady movements. He lets sweat replace memory. The fields respond to him. Crops don't ask questions. They don't carry grief. They don't hold silence in their walls. They only ask to be tended. To anyone watching from a distance, it looks like recovery. To Thom, it feels like control. Thom tells himself, this is what men do. They put their hands back to work. They carry forward. He tells himself survival looks like effort. That discipline makes things right again. He does not ask who pays for that discipline. Inside the house, Maggie learns a new rhythm. Camille wakes early. Maggie lifts her quietly from the cradle, careful not to let the floorboards announce her steps. She feeds her, rocks her back to sleep before Thom comes in from the yard. She scrubs floors. She washes linens. She memorizes which boards creak and which ones don't. She keeps Camille close, always. The house still carries Adeline's presence. Maggie notices it in small ways. The place where a chair once sat. The faint scent trapped in curtains. The way light falls across the bed at certain hours. She never mentions it. Some things belong to ghosts. Maggie understands that she has no choice. She does not frame it as strength. She does not call it endurance. She accepts it the way she has learned to accept many things, quietly, without resistance. She is here because she was sent. She stays because she is told. And she focuses on Camille because caring for the child is the only part of this that still belongs to her. She does not think in terms of leaving. That part of her learned to go quiet years ago. She moves through the house because she is expected to. She wakes when Camille cries because that is her place. Choice does not enter the equation. At first, Thom keeps his distance. He thanks Maggie when she brings him food. He eats quietly. He leaves her alone for hours while he works the far edge of the property. He tells himself gratitude is enough, that acknowledging her labor makes it balanced. He does not examine the imbalance. Maggie does not look for rescue. She has learned not to expect it. Naan visits when she can. She walks through the room slowly, taking everything in without comment. She watches Thom. She watches Maggie. She watches where Camille sleeps. Then she begins teaching Maggie, not formally, quietly, which herbs calm fever, which leaves stop bleeding, how to listen to breath when words fail, how to feel heat through skin. Maggie absorbs it all. She learns how to grind roots into paste, how to dry leaves in folded cloth, how to measure by instinct instead of tools. They work side by side in the evenings, crushing, sorting, storing, passing knowledge without ceremony. Maggie understands that even this learning belongs to someone else's permission. She takes what she is given and stores it carefully inside herself. This is how women have always survived. William comes once. He stands near the fence. He holds Camille briefly, awkwardly. He doesn't stay long. He returns to Alcée's fields. Maggie understands what that means. The changes arrive gradually, not all at once. Thom begins lingering in doorways, standing closer than necessary, asking questions that drift beyond politeness. How Maggie sleeps, if she misses Margaret's house, if she feels lonely here. His voice never rises. He never rushes. Thom tells himself he is only watching the house work, watching his daughter be cared for. He tells himself proximity is not intention, that noticing is not wanting. He keeps these thoughts carefully separated. Maggie starts timing her movements. She keeps Camille between them whenever she can. She avoids closed rooms. She leaves doors open. She makes sure Naan's visits are known. Thom notices. He does not comment. One afternoon, Thom comes in early from the fields. Maggie is washing linens. Camille sleeps nearby. Thom stands watching Maggie's hands in the basin. "You're good with her," he says. Maggie nods. She needs steady. Thom agrees. He tells Maggie he couldn't do this without her, that the house wouldn't function without her, that she carries everything. He speaks of Adeline, of empty nights, of how quiet the house becomes after dark. Thom tells himself grief entitles him to closeness. That loneliness deserves witnesses. He tells himself Maggie understands, even when she does not speak. Maggie keeps her eyes down. She has learned when silence is safer than sympathy. He steps closer, close enough to touch. His hand brushes Maggie's arm, just briefly, just long enough to be intentional. Maggie goes still, not startled, not loud. Her body locks in place, breath held, eyes fixed on the basin. She does not pull away. She waits. Thom lingers for a moment, then withdraws his hand. Thom tells himself it was nothing, that he stopped. That restraint counts. He carries that small mercy like proof of character. Maggie reaches for another sheet, creates distance. Thom allows it. For now. Maggie has learned that stillness is sometimes safer than motion. Andy comes by in the evenings sometimes. He stands outside the fence and talks with Thom about crops and repairs. He notices Maggie watching from the window, notices how quickly she steps back. He stores it away. He does not speak yet. Margaret does not visit. Maggie was her helper. Now, Maggie belongs elsewhere. Margaret returns to her routines. Maggie does not wonder what Margaret thinks about it. Naan visits more often. She stays longer. She teaches Maggie more herbs. She shows her how to make poultices, how to recognize infection, how to keep wounds clean. She reminds Maggie not to isolate. She watches Thom carefully. Her eyes miss nothing. Maggie begins feeling tired in ways that don't match the work. Her appetite shifts. Her stomach tightens in the mornings. Sometimes she has to steady herself when she stands. She tells herself it's stress. Long days. New surroundings. Naan notices first. She watches Maggie's posture. Her pauses. The faint pallor beneath warmth. One evening, as they grind herbs together in fading light, Naan places a hand gently on Maggie's arm. She asks quiet questions. When Maggie last bled. Whether she's been dizzy. Maggie answers slowly. Naan closes her eyes, just for a moment. When she opens them, she already knows. Her granddaughter is pregnant. Maggie does not ask what comes next. She already knows. Naan feels the familiar ache of history settle into her bones. She earned her freedom through healing. She protected her children with knowledge and silence. And now Maggie stands at the same threshold generations of women crossed without choice. Maggie sees the change in her grandmother's face. She knows before the words come. Naan pulls Maggie close. Maggie does not cry at first. She thinks of Camille. She thinks of William. She thinks of Thom standing in doorways. She thinks of how small the house feels. Maggie understands now that obedience is not something she chooses. It is something that lives in the walls, in the land, in the way men stand in doorways. Thom continues working his fields, believing responsibility has redeemed him. He counts the ways he has changed. He measures himself against who he used to be. He does not measure himself against Maggie. Maggie continues caring for Camille. knowing now that her own body carries something new. Andy watches from outside. Margaret continues her routines. And Naan begins planning what protection looks like when law offers none. She thinks about who can be trusted. She thinks about timing. She thinks about escape routes that do not yet exist. The episode ends quietly. Maggie sits holding Camille. Naan stands beside her. 2 generations. One child asleep. Another just beginning. And the weight of everything unspoken filling the room.